Look at how cool these sunglasses are. Hold on. Right there. How's it going? My name is Andrew. We have a heartbeat ba-boom, ba-boom, for GME and AMC right now, and we are looking at whether or not AMC and GME are getting one last dirty trick pulled on them right underneath them. Look at how similar this price action is. All right, AMC is currently down 5%, GME down a little bit less, about 4.5%, but haven't seen 150s in a long time. In fact, that was that 0% retracement of January's Gamma and March Gamma Squeeze. AMC currently trending right 33.44. That's a level of support that we could see a bounce from. RSI already coming down to about the low 30s. We see that the MACD is starting to taper off, which means that bounce means we just came in on a pretty opportune time. Hey, we're going to be here for a couple hours. What's going on? Thank you guys for showing up, taking a look at the data. Let's take a look at the options chain first, and then we'll take a look at why Ortex seems to be broken. All right, let's take a look at AMC's short interest change, but there is still an estimated total percentage I want to show you guys. Let's take a look at what the Lux Algo is trying to say, right, in terms of the buys and the sells. But make sure that you understand that that far right side of that options chain still is covered, still is full, back to back with these calls. At 145 strike, there is still $1 million worth of calls being put down at the far right side. Good morning, Ty Doring. Just wow. Silence is violence, I agree. Brandon Martin, how's it going? Yo, Andrew R. What's up, Ivy Creek? BTS Sandwich. Oh, thank God you're here. Jean-Luc Fritzen, Baby Doll Banks. We got Jason Yu. We got Denuen. We got Cruel Works. You guys just have the best names on YouTube, and that's why we're here with the best boom platoon. AMC still crawling at its low of the day, had a chance to bounce, still has another chance, another support right directly underneath it at 33.07. AMC currently at 5.34% down with 23 million volume on the day. 23 million volume already an hour into it. Remember, that used to be 4x, 5x more. We used to have 100 milli right before anybody was ringing any bells. Oh, by the way, if you guys missed that bell, where is it? I only have bowl now. Represents bowl. This is the old school Anchimo money. Ooh, ah. What's up, Matt Luster? Honest, I'm a pretty cool cat too. You know, you're right. You're not wrong. I am upgrading from Gandalf the Plaid straight to Gandalf the White right in front of you. It's a beautiful day in the stonk hood. It's a beautiful day for a trader. Won't you be mine? Will you be mine? It's your friendly neighborhood, Mr. Rogers of Stonks, Bob Ross of Stonks here to tell you we have the options chain. This is from yesterday. Take a look at how different it is from today. So we have these deep in the money calls here at the far left side. And when we take a look at the far left side, $250,000 worth of calls at $10 strike. Half a mil at 15 and 16. All right, pay attention to those because when we come over here, those today are all puts. $20 puts, $25 puts, $28 puts, all the way up to 30, where we are seeing put city in comparison to yesterday. Right, the entire market is bleeding. The market is crying. All right, the market is crying, buddy. All right, okay. Oh. It could be a sign of something new to come, an entirely changed perspective of what do people think the market is going to do next, and whether or not this is the very bottom of a dip, a dipperoni with cheese. Let's take a look now. It seems like, yeah, the only stock today that isn't on a down spiral is Hood. Hood is up today. It suffered a ton at when it opened. Now, where did it open? It opened at like 38 bucks. I remember that. Bud, I'm right here. I'm right here. You wanna go? You wanna go? You wanna go? You wanna go, bud? He doesn't want to go. He doesn't even want to go. He just wants daddy's attention. Jimmy says, well, this gov I have. Alright, let's go back to AMC. And let's go down to the minute chart. FUD, Hood, exactly. Hood, more like FUD. F and Hood, says T Sulfur. What a bunch of garbage with Vlad and the other insiders selling off. Willie Sanka says, I just had to hear those soothing tones in my hour of panic. That's what we're here for. To soothe you during your hour of panic. Why are you panicking? Remember, we don't trade with emotions anyway. How to buy the dip. Because at the end of the day, you're really asking yourself all the time, should I buy this dip? What about this one, right? Is this one tasty enough? Is this the bottom? You never know until you start watching the markets and learning alongside someone who has a couple of straight shots, some, you know, I think I've basically accrued 1,000 hours now, because if I do this for 40 hours a week, that is going to be 100 in like 2.5 weeks. So that means that if I've done it for 25 weeks, which I've done it for half a year, that means that I have now done it for 1,000 hours. Okay, I have thousands of hours of watching these metrics and these indicators. Does Meatball speak? Meatball, you have to understand. The world is still here, even if the stock market seems like it could be a better day. Meatball gets it. Andrew, S3 from BOA telling that they are liquidating. Meatball, you have to. Don't move. Don't speak. Andrew, do you think that there is a rip coming? I certainly do. Every single consolidation we have had, right back when we were at $10, went down to $8. And then from there, we have been non-stop. We have the non-stop consolidation rip, okay? One of these is very much like the rest of them. This is exactly the same patterns that we have seen, right? Elongated into 2 months of consolidation and a month of ripping. I'm gonna give him a beach ball. These are the cutest cookies in the world. I'm gonna give him a little flip-flop. You see here? Flip-flop cookie. Hold on, I have to get it on camera. Okay. It's harder than I thought. This flip-flop cookie. Camera, please. Focus on the flip-flop. Well, here you go. All right, you want to do a trick? Just because you guys showed up before the 8 o'clock duck rush, I'm going to show you guys a meatball trick. You can go tall. You can go tall, buddy. Go tall. Go tall. Go tall. Meatball, go tall. Go tall, buddy. Not quite right. Go tall. Good boy. Go tall. Good. Go tall. Go tall, buddy. So he knows how to hide. Go tall. Go tall. Go. Go tall. Go. You're doing it. You're almost there. Go, buddy. Go tall. Go. There you go. Good boy. Come on now. Pick up attention. Goodness gracious. All hail Meatball. Alright, coming down to 3307. That is where we are going to face one resistance after another. So let's take a look. We were trending in between 3449. This morning we fell through one level of support, 2 levels, and now 3 levels. That 4th level of support is down here at 3307. So that is currently where we are waiting for the next pivot point. From 3307, it is a no man's land all the way down to 3111, which means we got $2 of price action left before we have a respite. So can we find a bounce here? Are the bulls tired of letting the bears control the market? So much love for Meatball. If you guys love that Meatball and you want to be able to get more Moon Platoon members in here, I'll say it just once in the beginning of this live stream, maybe once at the end. It really helps out the show if you guys hit that like as soon as you guys come in. Trying to get that math similar. We got about 1,000 of you, 230 likes. Bryce Rodman, what's up? Ryan Hill says, if you don't think this stuff is rigged, look at Robinhood price movement on their volume today. Yeah, good point. Hello? He's like, oh, I spilled all the water. I spilled all the water on Baby Yoda. Grogu, no! Protect yourself. Such a suspicious boy right now. He's suspicion. John Smith came to hit that like. You gotta find those tendies now. D. Huffine says, I may not be a smart man, but I know when I have a winning hand. Meatball will be 8 in 5 days. Misty remembers his birthday. That's right, his birthday is coming up this weekend. What am I gonna do? What kind of fun thing can we do for his birthday? Wow, time flies. It really does. William says, don't we have a support, the double bottom from last week around 30.50? We do. I have 31.11. If we have a bounce off of here, though, we don't have to talk about the 30s, the low 30s in any way, shape, or form. About 6% down. If we can push past 33.41, that would be the ideal for the midday action here. Now, Luke Fritz, in a lot of ways, AMC GME is the Occupy Wall Street Part 2 that we have been waiting for. Next millionaire, I liked. Misty says, I'm gonna make him a peanut butter Doge cake. Misty, that's so sweet. Peanut butter Doge cake. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. You get some portrait shots done with you and him dressed up, and then a commission, a painting to be made. Excellent. Excellent idea. I'm into it. What shirt should I wear? I wonder. Aw, Ken Fabio Yo says, missed y'all. So nice to be here. With the family. The meatball. The coffee. The Hector in the morning. Next millionaire staying away from Robinhood. I mean, you wouldn't buy into Robinhood now. Even if it was just like a even if it was a value play, 16% up on the day for one of these stocks is a runaway. Run away. Lucas says, I have no fear, I believe in it. That portrait shot idea from T Sulfur. We just reached our simple moving average. AMC has its first bounce of the day. 30 cents off of that 33.07 support down here. That's something. That's not nothing. Let's see, simple moving average keeping us a closely guarded lid on that price action here. Crash Bandit Loot says, and then watch some more Bobobo. Absolutely. Andy Huang. Andrew, in theory, if they manipulate and short it to 0, then they would never have to cover. Correct. That's what they're hoping for. Now that you understand their incentives, you understand what they have to gain, it's much easier to understand why they are playing this game. Oh yeah, Meatball. Oh yeah. Lux Algo, you got it. Let's take a look at that Luxy Lux. Oh, where did I put it? It's over here. Oh yeah, it has its own window now. From the window to the Lux. Lux is a strong sell. I think on almost every single time frame. 15 minutes. I mean, if you fall 6% on the day, if you don't have a strong sell, that's on you. All right, earnings coming on the 4th. So that's tomorrow. We got pre-earnings here. This is the pre-earnings slide. You never know what's going to happen on earnings, but right before it, if people can anticipate, if they think that it's going to be bearish, they're going to act bearishly. If they think it's going to be bullish, they're going to act bullishly. Sometimes people act bullishly and then it gets a surprise. If they get surprised, you're not going to want to play an earnings call if you are likely going to be surprised. All depends on how accountable, how dependable, how consistent is that price action. And AMC, it does not fit the bill in terms of consistency. Can I pet the dog for me? Yes, Fox. Fox, this is a pet. We're the best boy in the world. Who's the best boy? Who's the best boy? Some dogs smell like dog a lot, but Meatball smells normal. He just smells like a good boy. Doesn't even smell like a dog. Let's see. Sounds like someone could be selling us something. All right, let's go out to the 30-minute. 30-minute strong signal was back on the 23rd. Let's see. Yeah, the hourly agrees. That was on the 23rd. I think, yeah, on the daily, there still has only been one buy signal, which is the one all the way back in January 28th. One strong buy, and we have never exited that one strong buy signal from January 28th. That's an important lesson if you think about anything, is that we have had major heights, especially in June, about $77, and now it could be argued that we're creating one of these pennants to remember for a lifetime. Connected here, connected all the way down in this consolidation, ramped down to 47 as a topper, and now currently holding at 32. Not a very pretty flag, not an excellent pennant, to be honest, but this could start forming a bullish pennant if we continue to zoom back out. And remember, there has been one buy signal. AMC slips down to 32.81. That is 4 levels of resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the 4th one. If we catch any air right now, that's going to be unplanned, unprecedented, because a lot of bears are going to be looking at 31.11 and thinking, yeah, that's the next level. Easy peasy. Resort Dog says, got paid last night. Bwahaha. Yeah, if you're looking like the market, like a tasty little ranch dip, it's a little Italian dipping sauce sandwich. It is an entirely different mindset, to be true. Benny Smits, is it too early, or I think we can say it. This is manipulation even Stevie Wonder can see. I think he would find that funny. Joji Soares says, looks like a red day again. I only have one question, and I think you know what it means. Joji, if it wasn't copyrighted stuff in it, I would watch it with you right now. How long is this video? I'm gonna figure it out. How long is this flea market. Why do I procrastinate so much? I'm gonna watch it right after this stream is over. Oh, if I search flea market, it comes out Montgomery. Oh. It's a local TV commercial, has made it to national TV via the Ellen DeGeneres show. Oh, then I don't think there's any copyrighted material if it was on Ellen, right? What's up, ducks? Chris says, another crispy sandwich for lunch today? You may, well, we probably won't even get to it. Robert Thompson says, stay strong and calm before the storm. What's up, Matt Core's totally real 10K run? What happened to my totally real 10K run? Hold on. Here's my totally real 10K run right here. It's the shape of an old iPod. It's the rock and roll marathon series. You can't see anything on camera. Bull pennant on SPY daily chart. Oh, so the entire market seems to be in a pullback, building up to a bullish pennant. Okay. I like the sound of that. Game Nub, what's going on? Alan Rodriguez, a Shining Fox. Shining Fox says, dark pools. Apes Together Strong says S. Tyler Sunby, what's going on with the ducks? Will Evans says, hit that like. Blue Pill Man says, someone says hedgies also try not to push price too low for dip buying. That's true. So what do you think they'll stop today? That's the question. What do you think they'll stop today? I think pushing underneath 33 is a good hedge fund strat. It demoralizes without having too many reckless dip buyers at the 31s. If you go down to 31, a 10% dip is enough to even make the most like undisciplined dip buyer go like, yeah, that's a dip I want to buy. And then they buy the dip, and then you suddenly are out of tricks. Yoli says, I feel like Andrew McGregor's leg right now. Sorry, Conor McGregor's leg right now. Next Millionaire says, hood is a trap, and I will not be the one. We have a downtrend right now, both on the descending levels of resistance and support. Let's take a look at resistance. Has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touch points. I don't see a downtrend as pretty as this, right? Very often. One at 34.16, another touch point at 33.87, one more at 33.47, and then 33.33, and then 33.07. So two of these are actually crisscrossing pretty closely to their intersections on the resistance levels, respectively, 33.40 and 33.10. They're getting closer together, which means that this downtrend is likely going to start facing a potential breakout, a bounce. Why? Because if this continues to get smaller and smaller together, it's going to get closer to zero as the cadence of these confirmations from the upside, right, on the descending level of resistance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, gets closer and closer together. So that's what I currently see. RG says, holy moly, grab my chips. I love a dip. Jean-Luc, Fritz, and Andrew, do you think it's possible to bring European authorities into the game? They have very strict regulations on manipulation. I just don't know if they can really interfere with American hedgies. Yeah, those darn Americans. Kenny G doesn't even play the saxophone. Take a look at how AMC was so similar to GME before. You might have thought that they were going to twin for the rest of the day. AMC bears and shorts had the opportunity to catch AMC sleeping and tracked its price action down while GME is staying right around that 4.5%. AMC has slipped another 2%, currently at 6.2% down. Still not the bottom of the day with only 30 million volume. We're coming in on the 2-hour mark of the trading day. Telemanias, I just bought some more. We'll buy more tomorrow. Soon. What is it down right now? 6.3%. Shining Fox's sideways is better than drop. Christian says, hello darkness, my old friend. Hong says, do you think they'll cover it if it goes below 30? No. And here's why. Here is that short interest, as you saw in the beginning of this live stream, it was actually broken. So this did not show the correct short interest, but now it does, 15% and strong. Okay? Shorts have not changed. Nothing has changed about the short, which means the short squeeze, nothing has changed about that. It's first grade, SpongeBob. Come on now. Robert Goodwin says, I see this as a chess game, and the hedge funds know we are a few moves from checkmate. Mr. Joe Nada, here's the deal about covering. They got us to the 30s by borrowing, printing fake shares in the 40s and selling them. They're dipping us to the low 30s and doing that in the high 30s and so on. There you go. That's how you, that's kind of how you gain muscle, except instead of muscle, you're gaining like manipulation points, because you have to really just test the, I'm going to say the sturdiness of the tolerance. I keep trying to say mean, ugly words that Mr. Rogers would never say. You have to test the resolve and the will of the apes by just how much punishment they can take. Let's see. Isaac says, please look at this spy pennant. Please, please, please. Somebody look at my TA. Remember, you guys can join as members, and then you can get your TA looked at on Discord. This is, what the? SPY has done nothing but good. When did this dip? In the middle of February. In the middle of February 2020. Oh, of course. I'm just like, that's right. That's the pandemic. So 441. This is too far out. Far out, man. Is this a bullish pennant? This does not confirm a pennant here. You see this drop down to below the EMA. That is having trouble, at least for me, considering this as a pennant. So here is what you could do. If you connect it to this top, then you're just ignoring this price action up here. So you're probably going to have to connect it to that over there, but then we don't have a confirmation here. I think this is a pretty weak pennant, in my opinion. I don't think that this should be a pennant you follow unless you're watching it for the flag. So this flag could work. It could work. It's not very clean either. This could work. Let's track it for a while and see. Let's just find out together, guys. Technical analysis. It's like a potluck. Everyone brings a little something. Thomas says, not sure how you can win a poker game against an opponent who has more money, makes the rules, and can see your cards. That is actually a really good analogy. They have more money, know the can manipulate the rules, and can see your cards. Thomas, that's a really good analogy. We'll keep that. Whoop, zoop. Remember, 20% off thanks to the Andrew Money code at checkout for Lux Algo. They are trying to shake the apes, says Bonnie Blue Sanders. Just hodl, ignore Hood. Where is Hood right now? Oh, I seriously doubt that I can push more than 20% today. 18.5 right now. Amcor to partner with Michigan State University. 2 stocks that could be the next GME. Ooh. Jungle Cruise was a big success, funny enough. Did anybody go see it? Anybody see the which is basically Jumanji like 5D? Ben says, is there a big old bull pennant on AMC 6-1 candle bought up to the top of 72 and is out toward end of August? I was trying to track that earlier in the stream. I think that there is merit to a bull pennant, but it hasn't confirmed enough. There usually needs to be 3 confirmations on the top and confirmations on the bottom. What's up, Josh Chappell? 2 p.m. Don't you know it? You don't know it. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't know it. And Ben, if you wanted to see me do that technical analysis of that bullish pennant from far out, I did that like maybe 5-10 minutes ago. Just 5 minutes ago. Come on. You can scroll back in the live stream, and then you can press live to make sure that you're live. New to all this is Robert. How does the borrowed shares increase, decrease, and the increase back to even higher numbers? That's a great point. So the borrowed shares right now is about 76.96 mil. Oh, you're talking about iBorrowDesk. That's a different story. You're talking about iBorrowDesk. And we need to talk about some data. If I just make this a little smaller. Hey, now we've come to play. AMC's options chain. Boom. Average Rob again with the generous super. This is actually good news to everyone. We know exactly how this play is. We're exactly where we need to be. IOI is failing, and we rule the Oasis. I'm actually emotionally numb after 6 months of hodl. Bullish. That is poetry. That's poetry. All right. So when you said borrowed shares, how did they appear and then disappear? Let's talk about the 5 mil that appeared earlier and then disappeared. So 450,000. Okay, that's reasonable. That was on the 30th of July. 5.5 million. Okay, slightly less reasonable. That's 5 million more, or what is this? More than 10x, 11x the number of shares that existed 15 minutes earlier. What happens when you have shares that enter a pool of shares? Well, essentially like this. Where's my, bring me my breastplate stretcher. Where's my magic pen tool? I'm talking to myself. There's nobody behind the camera. It's just me. Application not responding. Great. I'm too impatient to wait. I need to start it again. What's up, Krimmer? Thank the mods, guys. Rockets in the chat, not only for you, but also the moderators and the meatball back there. For being so patient. I love his new pose. He's turned all the way around, but he still looks like he's making a pose for us. Okay. Let's talk about the number of shares that could exist. Here's the free float. That's the free float. Not Final Fantasy. That's the number of shares that exists. About 513 million shares for, yeah, that's not the free float actually. The free float is the number of shares that retail investors could even buy. What is that? Return shares, borrowed shares. Shares on loan. Estimated short interest, utilization, and it doesn't matter. It's pretty close. It's pretty close to 500 million. So let's say that apes control about 80% from the last time in June where Adam Aaron said that we control 80%. So the CEO told us that we control 80%. That's the reason why we believe that. So that's how many shares owned by apes. And this small portion is owned by, let's call that smart money. That's smart money right there. And so they have very little wiggle room to be able to run around. And supposedly, right? But what if I were to tell you that these shares, the ones from iBorrowDesk, are actually located from the portion of yellow shares, the ones that we technically control, rather than the red shares. And actually, the shape of this is actually probably more likely like a imaginary second circle, maybe third, fourth, fifth circle, where there is more and more ownership in here from naked shares. These are naked. But we have to talk about it in a second. They're ... because they don't exist. There's only 513 million shares that do actually exist. 513 mil. Right? The rest shouldn't exist. And yet this is the portion that is naked. The red can be borrowed out at any time, but if you haven't turned off your share lending, the yellow can also be borrowed. And here's the kicker, you don't make any money when they borrow your shares. So that's why this yellow portion can be rehypothecated to this portion, or vice versa, back and forth. And so that there could be a lot more shares out there than just the 400-ish million that is owned by the apes. But now that said, where does the 5.4 million come from? Well, it comes from whenever a share is done, either it's returned or it was never shorted, and then it goes back into the pool of possible shares available to borrow. And in that sense, it doesn't mean that someone has covered a short. It just means that 5 million shares showed up after not being utilized. Right? That's what we know about it. That the shares are no longer being utilized, and it doesn't mean that it was shorted and then covered. And then as quickly as they appear, right? So this is the day of July 30th. That Friday afterwards, on Monday, they're gone. So in that sense, iBorrowDesk has done this now twice. 5 million shares appearing from in thin air and then disappearing basically as quickly as it appeared. We don't have visibility into the founders of this company as much as we do like Option Sonar and Ortex. So we don't know where iBorrowDesk is possibly facing a data issue. Now let's take a look at the double bottom here. We just had a potential bottom at 32.78 and then another one right after. This gives us the bullish energy to push past our simple moving average, and now we are bringing ourselves up to the 33.40s here. Mr. E says, this is becoming a bit of a problem. I bought more. These fools just don't get it. Price drops, we buy, and we hold. We win. Let's see. Jesse says, how do you shut it off? The system. The corrupt system. www says idle.wev. I wonder how many of my shares are actually real. Been buying since Feb and stopped in May. Remember, all of your shares are real in the sense that they are obligations to you, that you will be sure wield them, right? Maybe with responsibility, right? Maybe you have the right responsibility here. You will be wielding those shares as if they are entirely real. Rehypothecated shares, ones that belong to multiple people, they're real. Naked shares, they're real as well. They're obligations, they're IOUs. Right? They are the same as a piece of paper that says you own a Lambo in a garage. Do you want to see your Lambo? Let's not see your Lambo yet, is what the hedge funds say. Do you wanted to see your car? Uh-oh. Mr. Joe Nada says, we're in an existential fight. Klein Dropper says, when they do fake dumps like this, it only makes me more excited. Don't you see, hedge funds? This is what I'm into. Fooly fools. Okay. So AMC has nearly tracked all its double bottom all the way out. 33.25 rejection in the middle of these two levels of resistance. I mean, there is now 3 touch points for this, but that's just another level, another tiny difference. Look at this: 1 confirmation, 2, 3, and now it thinks it's a big boy level of resistance. Come on. Oh man, Meatball's bow tie says, "Hi Andrew, I'm learning so much from your channel. Just subscribe to Lux Algo using your discount code. What sensitivity and agility settings do I have it set to? This is the best part. I set it to autopilot. So that means that each time you play around with it, you're not gonna have to worry about, you know, what sensitivity. Everybody has a different sense of how many false positives and how false negatives do they actually want. So in that sense, if you wanted to be able to jump in with the 20% code, which we just renewed, that's a good opportunity for you. If you also want to be able to jump in with a potential code to the Webull, you get 2 free stocks. That's in the description as well. If you don't want to use it as a trading platform, that's okay. Just use it as a free trading tool. Yes. There we go. I was like, what are we doing? Alan Rodriguez says, the only thing that price drops do is give me... I can't say that. Fooly fools. Uh-huh. Screenshots? I just love that screenshot, by the way. I'm learning so much from the channel. Meatball's bow tie. By the way, we should get another bow tie. We'll give Meatball a regular tie today. It's a little green tie for good luck. Perfect. Beautiful. Okay, we just finished explaining where those 500-ish shares came from. 5 million-ish shares came from. Very important distinction. We don't have quite 1,000 likes on this video, so if you guys wouldn't mind checking out that like button, it does help out the show. Let's try to get it up to 2,000. We're gonna do a giveaway at 2,000. You know what? Let's do a giveaway at 1,500 and then another one at 2,500. All right. All right, bud. You want to go? Come on. You want to go? He doesn't even want to go. He's realized that if he begs enough, he gets more food. And I, as a good dog father, meatball snack. So that is for all the likes you guys just added to the video. Thank you. We're crossing 1,000 as we speak, which means 500 more until we do a giveaway. That's fun. All right. Chris Abramos has just turned off share lending on Webull in anticipation of buying back in after leaving Robinhood. Woohoo! When the battle gets tough, we up the ante. Heck yeah. Eric Gomez says, "Be careful when you." Ooh. Okay, I think that's a little political, and I don't have the context. I just don't have the context. I wish I did. Wish I knew more. Every day, I want to think about what kind of knowledge we can build for the next day, and that's the beauty of it, truly. Good morning, says Black Zeus. Is that a George W? I mean, oh, I keep pressing the back button. But yes, you're right. It's that George W coming up in there. He is the cutest dog you've ever done seen. All right. Any price is a sale. Short hedge funds giving us fire sales. Says Next Millionaire. Gensler speaking today, says Haze Monster. Is he speaking right now? No, right? He's not. He wouldn't speak right now. We're Patty is here. Andrew, what's the latest institution ownership look like for our stonk? So do they have institutional ownership here? Estimated short interest, exchange reported short interest, shares on loan, cost to borrow. I don't think so. I don't think so. All right. Gary Gensler. Let's see. Are we on SSR? We haven't gone down to 10% yet. Which is surprising because the stock's not supposed to really get on the SSR list nearly as often as these two. I search Gary Gensler and you don't want to know what comes up. Ryan T, I appreciate that. Heck yeah. Tighter SEC of crypto regulation will help it go mainstream. This is the crypto SEC chair. Will government regulate crypto? That's right. He does have a Twitter account. It's really funny to see him on Twitter. Yo, Gary. My hairpiece says, I keep maxing out the last fire sale. Where is the life-changing money? Hodl till I'm oldle. That's fun. Hodl till I'm oldle. Okay, they're gonna talk crypto here. Thank you, Robert Schmidt and Ben Bain, for sitting to talk about crypto. My take is simple. If someone wants to speculate, that's their choice, but we have a role as a nation to protect those investors against fraud. Great. Speaking at 12:15 Eastern. So in the Aspen Institute. Okay, heck yeah. Join us and register to attend. Okay, let me attend. Let me try. Let's see. Every time I see the price drop, I think, is this it? Is this all you can conjure, Saruman? Says Mr. Joe Nada. This double bottom is trending out nicely. Eric Gomez says, when you vote on Say Technologies, change your password. Okay, this is the same thing. Eric, don't know enough about what that is. Give me more context, actually. Registered day 1. Yes, I must hear Gary Gensler talk about crypto. There's nothing else I want more. Oh, I really gotta register. Okay. Andrew Mo Business. Confirm. Organization. Andrew Mo. Join webinar in progress. Oh, it's already happening. All right, well, in about 45 minutes, we're going to have Gary Gensler on the show. Doesn't that sound fun? He's not going to be listening to me. I'm going to be listening to him. That's the way our relationship works.
Recording in progress.
Shh. That was spooky. It's a Zoom meeting. Continue. Oh, this is cool. This is legit. Wait, this is super cool, actually. So I'm currently hanging out with, who is this? P. Michael McKinley. And in about 45 minutes, we're going to have some Gary Gensler. I registered for this so that you don't have to. The view from the SEC, Cryptocurrencies and National Security. Oh, this is, okay, currently what's going on is lessons from Afghanistan. Wow, this is kind of all over the place, huh? SEC chairman. SEC. AMC chairman on crypto in Aspen Security Forum. Gensler, you little sneaky sneak. Oh. Kind of love the meminess of Gensler. He's like a Steve Buscemi with all of the toppings. What's up, sick? Idle.wav says, I'm gonna be a mod one day and I'll be named Bots Be Gone. That's kind of cool, actually. Let's see. How much do I think retail owns now? Honestly, I think retail owns more, statistically. Like, people work in waves. The market works in waves, if you think about it. Only one rule to Ape Club. His name is Gary Gensler. Oh, man. Hi, what's up? RJ says, Andrew, I need some help. What kind of help? What can Uncle Andrew do for you? Huh? You come to Uncle Vinny's house on the day of my daughter's wedding. Let's see. Are we in a pennant? We're not in a pennant intraday, but we are in a double bottom. It hasn't completely played out yet. I'm imagining there could be a bounce at 33.25. It's about time that we own 100% already, says Walkers United. Yeah, but 100% just means the math is wrong. Remember what we said about these little pies? We can own 300%. We can own 400%. We can own as many little pies as you want to own. At the end of the day, that's not like you want 1 million in like fake shares? Or do you want this naked shorting to finally be addressed so that when people do talk about, you own 80% of the shares, then people don't get confused and be like, okay, 80% of which shares? Which shares are we owning? Hello, is this live? Says Lou Thompson. What's up? Must be live. I just answered your question. DFV never left. He just can't talk right now. He's legally bound. Says Indie Rad Mama. Greetings from Germany. Sisses and bros, keep strong. Do you think that's how we talk? Sisses and bros? Guten Tag? I'm just joking. Just kidding around. We do some hazing for our good friends across the pond. Any other Europeans in the chat? Where are my Lithuanians at? To all the new apes in here, says idle.wave, I wouldn't pay attention to all the FUD. People are either bots or are too emotional for this play. You have to kill your emotions if you want to be in here. This cup looks hella bad. No intraday cups, Red Fang. We don't ascribe to those intraday cups. Kevin Huang, that's a really funny idea, but I don't think people would want to be subscribed. A lot of people use their work accounts, you don't want to get people in trouble all of a sudden. Look at that tiny little shoulder. You see his shoulders? When he ducks down, his shoulders are this tiny little mountain. Like right on top of his back. He's got, you missed, he doesn't do shoulder day. He just has a tiny little lump for his shoulder blades right there. It's like a hyena. Portugal, UK, what's up, Space Agent? Germany again. Meatball's like, please keep petting me. Come on. Liverpool, UK. How's my job going? It's going great. I feel very fulfilled in all of the like professional career stuff. Yes, okay. I get it. I comprehendo. Yeah. I don't know how to deal with a child because I've already been with him. It's his birthday coming up, which is why he's getting so antsy. But I've never had to spoil him. He's just always been so well behaved. But now he's found out that he could just whine and get whatever he wants. Because right now he just wants pats. Meatball, I'll give you pats if you can play the quiet game. I think that's how you kids. You don't spoil a kid. We play the quiet game now, okay? You speak English? Vancouver Island, Cape Verde, Spain. Vancouver, East Timor, Ireland. Kitty Claus Johnson. Meatball wants more snacks. It's true. But if he realizes that whenever he whines, he gets snacks, then he is never gonna ever change. BTS sandwich. Well, I'm officially red again, guys. Pray for my soul. He comes back. I am once again back to tell you that I am red for the day. All right. So who's this lady? This lady is Megan O'Sullivan. So they're still talking about Afghanistan. So we got about half an hour until Gary Gensler shows up. Virgin in German is Guten Tag. Oh, no. I thought you were actually trying to teach me something. You little sneaky sneaks. Switzerland. We got Vancouver. Any non-Europeans in the house? Representation from all across the world, I bet. Americans never say they're from America. They always say what part of America. That's because this country is very large. I did not buy Hood. I'm staying far away from Hood. Where is Hood right now? Hood is back down to 16% up on the day. It was closer to like 19% up. Kitty Claus Catherine Johnson says, I feel the same, Meatball. I get it. Gigi is coming on the show. That's right. In this Zoom call, currently Gary Gensler looks slightly different. NYC, Philippines, Poland, Vancouver. I'm from the Texas. Texas. There, that's better. Chicago, YOLO. What's up, No Revolution? Where are my Chai City at? Chai Town. Where are my Windy City friends at? Windy City, Meatball, you have to stop. You have to stop. Otherwise, you're getting a timeout from the show. I'm sorry. You're such a good boy. He's such a good boy, but right now he's really playing the what can I get away with game. Okay, do you want to get out? Do you have to go? Do you have to go? Come on. All right. He didn't have to go. Now he's looking at me through the patio door. He's like, why am I on the outside? Aha, Italia. Yes. I love the beautiful city in Italia. Mexico, Guadalajara. I come from the Ape Nations, says Philip Zuber. Buddy Shrug says, thanks for all you do. Never forget we possibly own 10x the float. I already won. Will squeeze. Yes, when, whenever. Current price action. I don't care. We got Michael Chan from Hong Kong. Alright. Meatball is looking at AMC, that's why he's whining. It's true. Alright, you're back. Yeah, he's like, I could really use double, triple my breakfast amount. That would be great. You don't train dog in Mother Russia. Dog train you. Oh yes, please. A little booster shot. Honolulu, Hawaii. We got Phoenix, Arizona. Hueles a pura tierra mojada. What?
Hueles a pura tierra mojada.
Yeah.
Smell like.
You smell like wet earth?
Wet. Mojada. Wet. Get wet. Oh, I'm wet. Estoy mojado. I jumped into the pool.
Oh. Hector's teaching me some Spanish off screen. Math doesn't add up, big lemon peppa tendies guy. Exactly. Mark R, I actually explained watch sales in a whole 60-second video from like 3 months ago, so just search Andrew Mo watch sales, you'll get there. What is your opinion? Thank you so much. Hector with a coffee, the best friend, the roommate, the ever-loving. He saved my ever-loving neck with this coffee. Randy Radcliffe is from Tex Moas. We got Turkey in here. Right, give us half an hour more, and we're gonna have Gary Gensler in here. Gary Gensler. Aspen Security Forum. This Afghanistan Zoom call is going on. When Spanish channel? Hi, says Edward from La La Land, LA. Aww. Is that a particular part of LA? No, right? That's all of LA? Sergeant Franny, go. I'll be the judge of whether or not Lux has a buy signal. Thank you. It does not. It doesn't. And the more you zoom out, the less likely there's going to be a buy signal. Strong sell from earlier yesterday, from the 5-minute, a little earlier today for the 1-minute. Yoli says, why GME AMC always look the same? Oh, wait, this guy, I remember him, I think. David Petraeus is the director of the CIA. So he's currently on this Zoom call right now. Mentally Disturbed says, Mr. Miyagi says, wax on, wax off. Don't freak out, people. Remember, Karate Kid won at the end. The Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. Andrew, my Bosnian brother. Bosnians, where you at? Gary Gensler is in the chat. Hey Andrew, I've been working on my origami skills at the office lately. My laissez-faire market policies are working beautifully. Thank you, Gary. I can't wait to hear you in about 15 minutes. Gary Gensler, I can't believe you're in the chat right now. Alright, Gary. GME actually has a chance to recover a little bit of its price action, have a bounce off of the moving average here, coming up to the VWAP. AMC has been consolidating in these 3 levels of resistance ever since this downtrend. 5 confirmations all the way down to 32.78. That allowed us to break out. All right, so that downtrend predicted a double bottom coming out of the 32.78, rejected at 33.41, and now a second rejection at 33.41. That's 2 times. So we're essentially consolidating here until Gary Gensler talks. Cobra Kai till I die. Andrew just hacked the Zoom call. It's true. Bought the W, no worries. I'm like so many others and still in the red, says Nate Russo. I believe in the stock and the community. It's all that matters to me. Nate, it's about family. Stark Doc, a 10-minute break. Any chance of a quick overview of the new news? Let's go back to my little diagram here. The new news is that we had a 5 million iBorrowDesk shares show up on Friday, came to from 450,000 to 5.5 mil, came down to 250,000. This did not affect the short interest in the slightest, been about 15.11% ever since last week. So, in that sense, exactly what is changing to these 2 stocks that don't seem to be budging with 5 million shares passing hands back and forth? That's the question you should be asking. I talk about the free float in this little pie chart here and the 513 million in here. The yellow part is, according to Adam Aaron, how much the apes own. However, the difference in that transaction is that more naked shares can be rehypothecated and given out to multiple people. Hello. Let's see. Is it still Pete? Does David? What does David sound like?
With Megan as well, that what we have on the ground or had on the ground in Afghanistan is not necessarily the assets.
Okay, they're really talking about Afghanistan. So this is the CIA director, former director. Oh, AMC comes up to the VWAP. GME does as well. Both of these stocks are like tag teaming. They're like bottle bros. They're like, bro, if you reach the VWAP, I will too, man. And they're like, heck yeah. So they go both rip up to their volumetric weighted average price. GME at 151.09. That makes up 0.5% of lost price action. AMC goes up to 33.50. That also makes up around 0.5% of lost price action. Who's Gary Gensler, says Diamond Black. Dave Portnoy voice. Lacey Groom says, now is when the money is made. That's absolutely true. Boom boom, says Smoking or Joking. The idle.waf says a certain turtle video. I think I know which turtle video you're talking about. Bro trading. These are bro stonks. They care about each other. Remember, guys, we are looking to give you guys some free stuff if you guys smash that like button. And for a limited amount of time, we are going to do a giveaway for Twitter followers. So make sure that you do go over to Andrew Mo Money on Twitter and follow me there, and on Instagram. So 20,000 is the next goal for Twitter. Would love to see you there. It's short form thoughts from my brain to your ears or eyes. Back to the CIA director here. Let's see. Chris Roberts says, come AMC, let's get to $40 at the end of the day. If you don't say come on, it really becomes like a different command. You're like, come on. Yeah, that's a normal command. But if you say come AMC into the night. God and Todd says, I served under General Petraeus. Solid dude, actually. Oh, there you go. There you go. As a Swiss guy, can you please explain what the SEC is? Yeah, the SEC is like the stonk police. I think that's a good way to put it. But any kind of security, really, right? Bonds. Can't name any more. Commodities. You know, it could be anything. The SEC comes in and decides whether or not something is manipulation. And right now, the crypto is the big component of what he wants to either make thrive or make it not survive. It's either going to thrive or it's not going to survive. Gary Gensler is going to make some strong choice decisions in this summit. So this is the Aspen Security Forum. Is it what it's called? It's all about security. So I guess this is national security right now. Chris Fleetwood, can they use the dark pools to cover? Not to my knowledge, but it's certainly part of the DD of the zeitgeist. So we can talk about that in the video I'll upload later today. Chris Roberts says, come on, man. What channel is he watching? It's a Zoom call, actually. It's a Zoom call with P. Michael McKinley. And I am currently about 15 minutes out from talking to Mr. Gary Gensler. Can I help you? Do you need help? Okay. Meatball is here now. He wants upsies. He wants uppies. Yoli Ware says, where are my apes at? Show those bananas and roquettes. Come on. We can't hear it, Andrew. I know, it's about Afghanistan right now.
I would suggest also that as we look at the geopolitical context, our focus on wars and on terrorism over the last 20 years, this is not to relitigate the past. We took our eye off of the biggest economic transformation in world history.
Oh my.
We took our eye off of shifting power relations in the world. We attenuated our closest alliances to include NATO, and that was very evident by the time former President Trump took over and was in office.
Can I zoom?
And we neglected our own needs at home. And
I can't even zoom. I wanted to zoom in into whatever drawing he has over there. Ooh, what could this call be about? Ooh. National security, and yet the greatest threat to the nation are the very hedge funds that are shorting AMC and GME. Yeah, why wasn't that part of it, Gary? Gary? His voice sounds like you're a wizard, Harry. He sounds like Hagrid. You're a wizard, Harry. People's being real cute. Frederick Miles says they want us under 35 regardless of the cost until next Friday. Let's see. Meatball Happy Boy. The line is not real. Hold on. It's based off of the heart monitor in the hospital. It's diabolical. What does that mean? Okay, let's take a look at Ortex. Still is basically the same. Okay, who's talking in this? I'm talking here. Okay, so we had 10:45 conversation with Ambassador Zalmay Khalilzad. Sorry, 11:15. 2 decades on lessons from Afghanistan. We have the CIA director, Ambassador of Afghanistan to the U.S. We have former ambassador to the U.S. Afghanistan, and then some randos, and then a view of the SEC. So we got Gary Gensler by himself, and then the Wall Street Journal Paul, and then Aspen Strategy Group Anya. So that's currently what we're watching here. Back to the Zoom call. Zoom call. The line is semi-real. Space Ape says, another old guy that can't solve problems. But look at his hands. Look how wide he can move his hands, though. Doesn't this look like I can solve your problems if I go like this? Now listen. My hands go very wide. Rochelle says, am I missing out not buying options? I really don't know a lot about them, and yet it feels like I'm sitting on my hands just waiting for takeoff. Rochelle, that is such a good question. I know. It's not easy. That's why, so I had that feeling for a long time. It's just uncertainty and doubt about whether or not I should enter options. I would say my original stance on it was, if you don't have the right knowledge, don't. But now I'm starting to see that, you know, there are tools like Tiblio in the description down below. There's Lux Algo, obviously, with 20% off. There's a lot of different ways to be able to jump right in there, you know? Okay, let's listen to Mr. P. Michael.
And I suggest that we're going to see other countries doing so as well. We've seen the outreach or reports of outreach by the government of India on the same front. What I'm trying to say here is new realities are already being created, are already in place. And so the question comes back to Professor Sullivan's point on our places like Afghanistan, part of the next balance of power, great power conflict that people are suggesting is the future of world relations. I would suggest they're not, and that the key issues remain nuclear weapons in North Korea, nuclear Iran.
Is this guy even about Afghanistan anymore? The biggest thing's about me. Let me tell you about what I think. All right. 33.43. We had 2 bounces off of this line coming up to the VWAP, so that is currently what we're waiting for. See if we can trend above that EMA. That might be powerful. Powerful stuff.
Having worked a lot in the Western Hemisphere, we could certainly use many more resources to address Western Hemisphere issues that are currently being sent elsewhere. But at the end of the day, I do think the issues that have been raised are important, but there is a moment where you have to rethink this. A final point on the political unity in Afghanistan. It's been very difficult for 20 years. Afghan political leaders have remained divided. It's significant that we have not seen a national unity call involving all the key leaders of Afghanistan over the last several weeks. There's no clarion rallying to President Ghani. We are in a situation in which Afghanistan's political leadership also has to make decisions which can inspire the country. And I would add an anecdote there. Ismail Khan in Herat has fought in many wars in the country, is out there rallying the population of Herat to respond. We'll see how that works, but it's certainly an indication of what's needed to address the moment and create the opportunity in the coming months to reconfigure, reset, and see where Afghanistan goes.
Jennifer Petraeus, I saw your hand to make it.
All right, that's enough of that. So we are still about 15 minutes away until Mr. Gary G shows up. And you know, I shouldn't have moved this all around. That's what it's all about. Okay, there we go. Shining Foxes, sit on your hands. So easy. John De Silva says, on the 15-minute MACD has been oversold for a while, and if you look back to when it was this low, we had seen ATH next all-time highs. Let's see. Weekly call options prices looking fishy. Been going down as stock has been rebounding up. Yeah, we were looking at the options chain earlier. Let's look now. I can't remember which tab it is. This one? No. This one? It's this one. Benny Kirksey, Gary Gensler's a laissez-faire interpretation. Status quo will remain. Foxes will continue their watch over the hen house. Any changes to be superficial. Thank you, Benny. Foxes watching over the hen house. That's fun. All right, that's an options chain from earlier today. Oh yeah, I remember why. I remember which one it was. It was this one. That's what the option chain looks like yesterday. That's much nicer to look at. We need General Glenn McMahon. Where's General Glenn? Come on. There's a case that can be made for financial terrorism against hedge funds. No, but that is. Oh, you mean a legal case that hedge funds are doing financial terrorism? Yeah, I could see that. I'm not a lawyer, but that certainly seems like a. It seems like a logical argument to move towards the direction of, you know. Let's see. Andrew, dye your hair purple. That's neither green nor red. Like, what would that do? Weezer Abi says, but GME doesn't really need a squeeze. The stock will run due to their nice possibilities to generate income in the gaming sector. Remember that GME's squeeze potential is still locked in place with its short interest, right? If you still have that short interest that you've been holding at that same level for about a couple of weeks, if not months now, that is going to be the exact same likelihood that you squeeze. It's first grade SpongeBob. Any chance for a gamma squeeze in the near term? I would say that the potential for a gamma squeeze is counterbalanced by the IV crush, right? As AMC and GME continues to consolidate, if they don't have too much range for the next few days, then the option chain is going to look very, very profitable for a lot of different people. Hey. Expect the worst, pray for the best, says Smokin'. Oh, here you go. Andrew, do I like spaghetti? Yes. Not as much as, like, you know, a pastafarian or someone who really enjoys pasta. But I enjoy it. In about 10 minutes, we're going to have Gary Gensler show up and talk to us about crypto. And be able to understand exactly how this might be part of his story to talk about security and hedge funds ruining that security. I remember the more you drink, the better the stock did, says Siva Valenzuela. Where is it actually? Where is my breastplate stretcher? Let's see. What is this Zoom call? This is the Aspen Security Forum, I want to say, which is fun because I was just in Aspen, so I could have seen Gary Gensler live. That's tragic. Red Cloud says, why Chipotle stock so valuable? You see, that's the point. It doesn't really matter what the value of a stock is not tied into the price point of the stock. That's true. That's not even like a hot take. That's just factual. GME and AMC raised a similar amount of money during the at the market offerings, right? And yet they had fundamentally different amount of shares that they sold. Fundamentally different numbers for dilution. These are magnitudes different. Let me drink this coffee. All right. How many likes do we got? If we can get 1,700 likes, I will drop that Glen right in front of you. We're 300 away. Drop that Glen! This is my Mother's Day 2018 glass here, obviously. What's the drawing in yellow? Gives us an understanding of where the 5 million shares could be coming from when they were located on iBorrow desk. All right, about 7 more minutes, and we are going to watch Gary Gensler show up on that Zoom chat. Andrew R says, "Good grief, that's a huge mug. It's Baymax." Yeah. BTS Andrew, I'm so behind on messages, but I will catch up. Yeah, you can just ask me now. What'd you ask me? Okay, here we go. Ready. Boop. Black Dog Hunting says, "Happy Mother's Day, Andrew." It has to go. Boop. I like how Hood, Anthony says, Hood being up is like slapping apes in the face. He likes that though. That's his thing. All right, where is Hood at actually? Hood is all the way up at 16. That's still lower than the daily high of the day, to be fair. All right. We got the Glenny ready. All we need is 1,700 likes. Chris says, "Does it make me less fancy?" It might. Kyle says, "On the share count, it's safe to give them my account info, right?" Make sure that you're on the official website, okay? I'm not gonna even guess what website you're on. Just make sure you're on the official one. BTS says, "I got a Reddit message saying that someone was trying to make a book and wanted to include my post and directed me to some website. They referenced the book site, which doesn't actually exist." You know, I got the same thing. First things first, I've actually had like, you know, thousands of dollars of like videotaping material come from like a documentary. People like creating Netflix documentaries and Vice documentaries and stuff. So that was a legit deal. If it's a book, just understand that you're likely not going to get the same exposure. Well, books can always go viral, right? But you're being a small piece of a chapter of a larger story for a lot of potential risk of getting scammed, and you don't want to get scammed. So in that sense, I have also been reached out to someone writing a book, and I just have been way too busy. It could be fun being in a book, though, if that's what you're into. Who's Gary Gensler? Let's put that uptrend line on here. Okay. Bring it down from the W. So yeah, 1, 2, 3 touch points. That's actually pretty great. So that means that we're going to retake the 3344 level of resistance soon. Love it. Love this uptrend. What's up, Italian Stallion? But why is Gary Gensler, says David. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on here. This is still Roya Ramani, who I believe is a ambassador, let's say. Let's guess. Andrew on that Zoom call. Cool says, "Thank you for everything you're doing, Andrew." That is very cool. It's cool that we're here together. That's what I like. We're just interacting, we're chilling, we're vibing. Max and all cool, shooting some b-ball outside of school. Can I stream the event? Dom, you got it, just for you. All right, in 3 minutes, we're gonna have Gary Gensler show up.
I've kept waiting. I know we have a few waiting in the wings with their questions now. I believe actually Ambassador Burns has joined us again, and maybe we don't have time for questions. I'll turn it over to you.
We have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
Wonderful. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Farah Pandit is with us and has a question for the panel.
Farrell Panda.
There she is now. I'll turn it over to you, Farah.
Good afternoon, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you. I wanted to pull the thread on the issues of extremism and ideology alongside with Pakistan. And I'm wondering if we're looking, this panel is about lessons learned, and what we should be doing is also thinking about how to build a strategy that you look around the corner. So here's my question. What should the United States be doing as we think about the ideology that the Taliban is spreading?
All right, we got 2 more minutes of Afghanistan, and then we got crypto and security and Gary Gensler. Today's short squeeze brought to you by Andrew's Superior Hair Products is Black Dog Hunting. You're a good man, Andrew, says Dom. Take my follow like. You're a cool commenter, Dom. Take my screenshot so that I'll add you to the collage of very nice comments. Who's Gary Gensler? Is this him? What does Gary Gensler look like? He has glasses. He has button, tie. That's basically Gary Gensler. Let's see. Wow, Black Dog Hunting lived in Pakistan for 12 months during their time in the military. Very cool. Did you talk to this guy?
To disrupt and degrade it and destroy it if we can, noting that, of course, it will be much more costly to do this from bases in Qatar and the UAE or off an aircraft carrier than it was.
He is the dude from Office Space.
Afghanistan. And maybe if I can, I might just offer my final.
That uptrend is facing a potential rip at that simple moving average coming up to that 33.64.
Said when the decision to withdraw was announced that I feared that we had consigned Afghanistan to a brutal civil war. And frankly, I am deeply saddened that that assessment appears to be validated or being validated because, again, we could not sustain what I think was quite a sustainable commitment. And similar to that, which we have in other places around the world. And with great respect, in the Sahel, if you aggregate all the forces that we have there, I think you would find it is very close to 1,000, if not about that number. So I think the biggest lesson of all this is that you have to have a sustainable commitment to keep an eye on extremists, even as we rightly refocus, rebalance, and emphasize the issue.
It's about stocks now.
In Western relationship with China, vastly more than all of these put together. But you do have to keep these smaller plates spinning, even as you keep that big plate spinning. And thank you.
33.60 has been touched, rejected again. This uptrend is not going to allow it to be rejected for long.
Thank you, General Petraeus. And I believe I am up against the clock here. So, Ambassador Burns, I think we probably don't have time for one more question.
Unfortunately, we don't. I wish we did, but I want to thank
this guy's the same guy
for leading this very honest, open, very frank, I would say difficult and important discussion. Thank you to Ambassador Rahmani, to General Petraeus, to Ambassador
Gary Gensler, Steve Buscemi. I agree. All right, we're about to have him show up. How many times do people have to ask, who's Gary Gensler? It's a joke. Dave Portnoy asked during his interview with Charles Payne, and it was very funny because he didn't know who he was. It's kind of like saying, who's Ronald McDonald? Don't we all know? Come on.
Loyal to us and to help them live a life of security and freedom in our country, if that's what they choose to do. We're talking about the thousands of people that Mike McKinley talked about at the very beginning. So
those are the American Alps. That's Aspen.
You this in Aspen, and I'm going to thank you again. We're now going to turn to another important discussion on a very different subject with Gary Gensler, Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
We finally made it.
And Paul Vigna, reporter of the Wall Street Journal. I'll turn to my colleague, Ellen Emanuel, Director of the Aspen Strategy Group, for a formal introduction, but I do want to let Gary know, Gary Gensler, how grateful we are. He's a busy guy for taking time to be with us today. Anya.
Thank you so much, Nick. And thank you to everyone who had that heartfelt, difficult conversation on Afghanistan now. Now for something completely different. We thought for the first time at the Aspen Security Forum, we should have a real conversation about cryptocurrencies and blockchain, because increasingly they are becoming a national security issue. And judging by the interest we're getting on Twitter and the more than 1,000 people who are with us right now in the Zoom, many Americans
like
feel
1,000
that
people.
as well. We are very lucky to have with us.
Isn't that crazy that we have more people in the stream than in the Zoom? That's why you gotta smash that like. I'm about to drink this. 1,700 likes. Here you goes, guys. Cheers.
Just explain to our foreign policy audience why we believe that there's a national security interest in cryptocurrency and blockchains. For one, China is making rapid advances. They have their own central bank
they really
issued currency, the digital yuan.
They do.
Chinese companies lead, many of them lead in the international payments space. And traditionally, the United States has enforced our sanctions through the correspondent banking system, through SWIFT. Increasingly, there are technologies, many of them not Americans, many of them Chinese, that are replacing that system. And in the US, of course, we've been waiting. It's difficult because the SEC has some equities here, the Treasury Department, the Federal Reserve. So I think many people in this
That's Gina Gensler.
regulation from the Biden administration and from the key organizations that work on this on the US government. Well, here to tell us more about how the Biden administration is thinking about this and actually to make a major pronouncements on the regulation of cryptocurrencies is Gary Gensler. He needs very little introduction, the current chair of the SEC. He was formerly a professor at the MIT Sloan School of Management and also a senior advisor to the MIT Media Lab's Digital Currency Initiative and actually taught a course on digital currencies. So he's a true expert. And previously, of course, Gary was the chair of the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, which also has some equities in the space, and Undersecretary for Treasury of the Treasury for Domestic Finance, along with many, many other distinguished jobs, both in the U.S. government and previously in the private sector, including at Goldman Sachs. We're very, very grateful to you.
AMC just got a buy signal. This is bullish.
And to moderate the discussion is one of the foremost journalists who work on cryptocurrencies, this very new space. It's Paul Vigna, a reporter at the Wall Street Journal. He's written 3 books, including one called The Age of Cryptocurrency, another one called The Truth Machine, and also Guts. He's been featured in documentaries, and I couldn't think of a better person. So thank you very much, and I'll let the two of you take it away. Thanks.
Oh my gosh. Romeo, what did you just do to me?
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Anya. I look forward to the discussion with Paul, and thank you, Nick, and others who invited me here to speak at the Aspen Security Forum. Now, as is customary, I should note that these views are my own, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the Commission or the SEC staff. All right, I got that out of the way. So some might wonder, what does the SEC have to do with crypto? And further, why, as Anya just pointed out, did an organization like the Aspen Security Forum ask me to speak at all about crypto's intersection with national security? Let me start at the beginning. Many of you might know it who are listening, but it was Halloween night in 2008, in the middle of the financial crisis, when Satoshi Nakamoto published an 8-page paper on a cypherpunk mailing list. I don't mispronounce it, cypherpunk mailing list that had been around and run by cryptographers since 1992. A little off the grid, a little libertarian, cypherpunk mailing list. Now, Nakamoto, we still don't know who she, he, or they were. If at the end of this talk, Paul wants to tell us, I'm looking forward to knowing who Paul thinks Nakamoto was, wrote, I've been working on a new electronic cash system that's fully peer-to-peer with no trusted third party.
This guy is Gary Gensler.
At the core, Nakamoto was talking about some form of private money that didn't have central intermediaries. But Nakamoto had solved 2 riddles that had dogged these cryptographers and other technology experts for a couple of decades, since the dawn of the internet.
2 riddles.
First was how to move something of value on the internet without a central intermediary. And that's where it can fit into national security. How to move something of value on the internet without a central intermediary. And relatedly, how to prevent what's called double spending of that valuable digital token. So subsequently, her innovation, or his innovation, spurred the development of crypto assets and what's called the underlying blockchain technology. About a dozen years later, where are we? Well, the crypto asset class has ballooned. As of yesterday, about 1.6 trillion.
Did he just say bro?
Value. Of course, it goes up, it goes down. Over 75 tokens worth at least $1 billion each, 1,600 worth at least $1 million of market capitalization. And while that 1.6 trillion is relatively small compared to the U.S. capital markets of nearly $100 trillion, it's still significant. And of course, it's larger than the capital markets of
This is live.
jurisdictions that this security forum would discuss. And before starting at the SEC, I was honored, as Anya said, teaching about the intersection of finance and technology at MIT. This included courses in these various topics. And in that work, I came to believe that though there was a lot of hype masquerading as reality in the crypto field, Nakamoto's innovation is real. And some in the public sector would say, well, no, almost like wishing it away. I really do think there's something real about the distributed ledger technology, moving value on the internet without a central intermediary. Further, it has been and could continue to be a catalyst for change in the fields of finance and money. At its core, Nakamoto was trying to create private form of money with no central intermediary. We've had a long history since antiquity of private monies competing with public money. So this is not necessarily new, but it was new how it was done and how it can live in a digital age. Now, let me say we already live in an age of digital public monies. The dollar, euro, sterling, yen, and yes, yuan, all are digital. And if you have any doubt about that, it's obvious during the pandemic. I mean, who is actually using paper or coinage money in these days? So such public fiat monies fulfill the three functions of monies. Monetary economists have studied this for a long time. Store of value, unit of account, medium of exchange. Why do I raise that? Because my opinion is no single crypto asset, though, broadly fulfills all of the functions of money. Bitcoin has some of it, but not broadly fulfilling all three. Primarily, crypto assets provide a digital, scarce vehicle for speculative investment. Thus, in a sense, one can say they are highly speculative stores of value. Buy Bitcoin, it goes up. Maybe I have something better for my future and my retirement, but it's not really being used as a unit of account. And we also haven't seen that crypto has been used much as a medium of exchange, except for with one large exception. To the extent that it is being used as a medium of exchange, it's usually often to skirt our laws with respect to anti-money laundering, sanctions, tax collection on the dark web, and yes, also it's enabled extortion via ransomware, as we had seen recently in Colonial Pipeline and elsewhere. You see, with the advent of the internet 40 years ago and the movement from physical paper money to digital money, we nation states around the globe layered various public policy goals over our digital public money system. Sanctions regimes, anti-money laundering, tax compliance. We did that sort of in this digital public money area. And that's what, to some extent, people are using a medium of exchange in crypto. Now, as a policy matter, I'm technology neutral. I would say as a personal matter, I wouldn't have gone to MIT if I weren't interested in how technology can expand access to finance and contribute to economic growth. And I wouldn't have spent so much time around the digital currency initiative at MIT and my colleagues there if I didn't think there was something here that could be a catalyst for real change. But I am anything but public policy neutral. In my current role, as new technologies come along, we need to be sure that we're achieving our core public policy goals. And in finance, what's that about? Protecting investors and consumers, guarding against illicit activity, and ensuring financial stability. And that's where it fits into national security interests. But how does the SEC fit into it? And I'll close with some thoughts on the national security. But the SEC, well, we have a three-part mission for those who aren't familiar: protecting investors, facilitating capital formation, and then in between, maintaining fair, orderly, and efficient markets. Investors, capital formation, and then the markets in between. We focus on financial stability as well as part of that fair, orderly, and efficient markets, but at our core, it's about investor protection. And if you want to invest in a digital, scarce, speculative store of value, that's fine. Good faith actors, by the way, since antiquity have been speculating on the value of gold and silver. So that's been around for thousands of years. Right now, though, in this digital, scarce, speculative asset, Bitcoin and others, we just don't have enough investor protection. And frankly, at this time, it's more like the Wild West than some sort of protection against fraud and manipulation in the space. This asset class is rife with fraud, scams, and abuses in certain applications. There's a great deal of hype and spin about how crypto assets work, and in many cases, investors aren't able to get rigorous, balanced, complete information. It doesn't mean there aren't good faith actors, and there are many of them, but investors really aren't getting the information to judge the risk and understand the risk. And I fear that if we don't address the issues, I worry a lot of people will be hurt. Now, first, about the tokens themselves. Those tokens being offered, many of them are offered and sold as security. There's actually a lot of clarity on this front. So you see, in the 1930s, Congress established the definition of a security, but they included like 20 different items. You'd be familiar with some of them: stock, bonds, notes. But one of the items is called an investment contract. In the following decade, the Supreme Court took up what's the definition of this term: black letter law, investment contract. This case said an investment contract exists, and I'm going to quote for a moment: a person invests his money in a common enterprise and is led to expect profits solely from the efforts of the promoter of a third party. You might have heard of it. It's called the Howie Test, related to an estate of William Howie that actually was about orange groves in Florida. And what do orange groves in Florida have to do with cryptocurrency? Well, the Supreme Court has upheld this test a number of times subsequently. And so further, there are other tests. There are many other determinations comes under the federal securities law. Now, my predecessor, SEC Chairman Jay Clayton.
He is really going off a script. Okay, my name is Andrew. If you're watching on TMI right now, hey, my name is Andrew. This is the Andrew Mo Money channel, and I'm excited for you guys to be able to, come over and subscribe, because we have giveaways, and we just got $30 free in the Sticky Icky. I mean, Austin has called out his CBD company before. It's not a small business, but if you want $30 for free, that's a brand new. This is a personal plug for me. They didn't pay any money for this spot on Gary Gensler's Variety Hour, but the only two things I want you to do is your country needs you, your universe needs you. Subscribe, like, and press that link in the pinned chat. Let's keep talking about Gary Gensler.
Group of entrepreneurs and technologists standing up and nurturing the projects. Geez, anticipation of profits, small group of entrepreneurs standing up something. Our federal securities law says there's a need for some protection. And I believe we have crypto market now where many tokens may be unregistered without requiring the disclosures and the market oversight. This leaves prices open to manipulation. This leaves investors vulnerable. Now, over the years, the SEC has brought dozens of cases, many of them during my predecessor's time. I've only been here 3 months. And yet, having brought dozens of cases, we haven't lost a case. Having done all that, there are thousands of projects out there, thousands of tokens and so forth. I mentioned earlier, over 75 with $1 billion market value or more. There are also initiatives by a number of platforms, and I'm going to mention 3 types of platforms: trading platforms, lending platforms, and then there's a third type of platform called decentralized finance, which sometimes is doing one of the first 2 things. And there are many crypto tokens within these platforms priced off of the value of securities and operating in this space. And so I would have to say that with regard to these 3 types of platforms, the world of crypto finance now has these venues. I believe these platforms not only can implicate securities laws, but some platforms also can implicate commodities laws and the banking laws. Now, just thinking about a platform right now. Many of them have 50, maybe 100 different cryptocurrencies, crypto tokens trading on them. And while each token's legal status depends on its own facts and circumstances, the probability is quite remote that with 50 plus tokens, that none of them are securities. It just sort of belies sort of the arithmetic that I've learned and how I learned to think about probabilities at MIT. You could have 50 or 100 tokens and none of them are securities. Moreover, unlike other trading markets where investors go through a broker or some other intermediary to access, let's say, the New York Stock Exchange or London Stock Exchange or even the Shanghai Stock Exchange, people can trade crypto trading directly. They can do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and from around the globe. And for those thinking about national security, this is very much a 7-day-a-week, 24/7 market with Asia retail participating, with U.S. retail, Latin America, African, European. It's a truly worldwide market. Further, while many overseas platforms state they don't allow U.S. investors into their platform, there are allegations that some unregulated foreign exchange facilitate U.S. investors tapping in through virtual private networks. Paul, your paper just ran a story on this in the last week. The American public is buying, selling, and lending crypto on trading, lending, and these DeFi platforms. And there's significant gaps in the investor protection. Now, make no mistake, to the extent that there's securities on the platforms under our laws, the platforms have to register unless they meet some exemption. Make no mistake, if it's a lending platform, it's offering securities, it also falls within SEC jurisdiction. Next, let me talk about stable value coins, which are crypto tokens pegged or linked to the value of some public money, fiat money. Many of you may have heard about Facebook's efforts to stand up a stable coin called Diem. It was formerly called Libra. And now, due to the global reach of Facebook's platform, this has gotten a lot of attention, as you know and imagine, from central bankers and regulators around the globe. It's not only due to the general policies concerning crypto that I've mentioned about investor protection and guarding against illicit activity, but it's also due to Diem's potential impact on monetary policy, banking policy, financial stability in jurisdictions around the globe. But maybe less well known to this audience is that we already have stable value coins. In fact, the universe right now, the 7 or 8 major ones, little over $110 billion in value, including 4 large ones, some of which would have been around for 7 or so years. Now, you might say, why is that? Hadn't heard of that. Well, these stable coins are embedded in the trading and lending platforms and the DeFi platforms I just mentioned. You might say, why is that? Well, most of those platforms, the majority of what happens there is cryptocurrency to cryptocurrency. It's not US dollar versus Bitcoin, but it's something called a stable value coin, maybe US dollar Tether or US dollar USDC, which was started by a couple of companies here in the US. But it's a stable value coin versus Bitcoin. Wonder why that is. Now, in July, nearly 3/4 of the trading in all of crypto trading platforms occurred between a stable coin and some other crypto token. Thus, the use of stable coins have become just facilitating, embedded in the crypto ecosystem. And why might that be? Well, you see, these platforms may facilitate those seeking to sidestep a host of public policy goals. Sidestepping our traditional banking system because you don't have to give them any bank account information. You're just going stable coin versus Bitcoin or another crypto. Potentially sidestepping any money laundering, tax compliance, sanctions, which ought to be of interest to this audience, and the like. So this all affects national security. Stable coins, well before any Facebook Diem, are right now in the center of this marketplace. Further, these stable coins may be securities and investment companies. To the extent they are, we at the SEC will apply full investor protection under what's called the Investment Company Act and other laws on these products. And I look forward to my colleagues on the President's Working Group led by Secretary Yellen. We're doing a project, a report in this area. Next, I just want to mention something about investment vehicles. Investors may want exposure to this asset class, but not do it directly. Do it through some collective investment vehicle. We do it in the equity market, we do it in the bond markets. People might want it here. Well, there are some vehicles that already exist. There's one that's been around for about 8 years that's over $20 billion in size. Also, there's a number of mutual funds that are investing in what's called Bitcoin futures on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and that's overseeing the Bitcoin futures by our sibling agency, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. I anticipate there'll be filings with our agency with regard to exchange-traded funds. We have some already, but I anticipate we'll have some new ones under what's called the Investment Company Act. And when combined with other federal laws, the 40 Act provides significant investor protections. And given these important protections, I look forward to seeing what staff says about these filings coming forward related to these regulated Bitcoin futures trading on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Let me say we also have another little work stream at the SEC, but it's important. It's about custody of crypto assets, and the SEC put out to comment to the public to understand how best to ensure for custody protections, because this is an area where there's a lot of theft. Let me just say before I conclude, I'd like to note that we have taken and will continue to take our authorities as far as they can go. And certain rules related to crypto assets are well settled. For instance, the test to determine whether crypto asset is a security is clear. Now, some in the industry would say it's not clear enough, but I would say I agree with Jay Clayton. It's clear in this regard. There are some gaps in this space, though. I do think we need additional congressional authorities to prevent transactions, products, and platforms falling between regulatory cracks. I also think we need more resources. We could double or triple the number of people we have working on this at the SEC and still probably not fully cover this field. We stand ready to work with Congress, the administration, our fellow regulators around the globe, and partner up. We stand ready to hear from the entrepreneurs and technologists in the field as to what's working and what's not. But in my view, the legislative priorities should be around these platforms, the trading, lending, decentralized finance. Regulators would benefit from additional authorities in this space. We can also attach things around sanctions and tax collection and tax compliance and anti-money laundering. So it's about all the policy suites right there. Right now, large parts of the field of crypto are sitting astride, not operating within regulatory frameworks that protect investors and consumers, guard against illicit activity, ensure for financial stability, and yes, protect national security. Standing astride isn't a sustainable place to be. Technologies for generations have come along. They might stand astride public policy for a while, but for those who want to encourage innovations in any field, but if you're encouraging in crypto, I'd like to note that financial innovations throughout history don't long thrive outside our public policy frameworks. And I would also note to some that are thinking of investing in this space, private monies also often fail. And one could study a little bit of history in the US. We had a lot of private monies during the wildcat banking era of the mid-19th century. But back to the heart of this. The heart of finance is trust. That ensures for our national security here, our financial security, but also around the globe. And at the heart of the trust in our financial sector and in markets is investor protection. The field is going to continue or reach any of the potentials to be a catalyst for change that, whether it was Nakamoto's vision or any individual listener's vision, I think we better bring this into our public policy framework. So I thank you. I look forward to Paul's questions.
I've asked a question.
Hi, Gary. Formally, how are you doing?
I'm not sure if I can ask questions, but I ask, are hedge funds complicit in irresponsible short positions in retail stocks, government bonds, and other market crashing risks? Will SEC government bail out this risky behavior if a series of margin calls occur?
You becoming SEC chair at this exact moment it seems to me that the market world that you're inheriting from your position is really, even in the last couple of months, is very different from the market world that all of your predecessors inherited, going back almost a century of the SEC's existence. You have, I mean, the barriers to entry for most investors have become extremely low, if not zero. You have the internet making markets completely international. Information is flowing now as much on, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube as it is through, I'm sorry to say, through the Wall Street Journal and the Economist and the FT.
Why are you sorry?
And, with crypto, with the crypto market, now the barriers to entry to creating entirely new asset classes are almost zero. I mean, a lot of this software is basically off the shelf. So how are you approaching your job differently, do you think, than other past SEC chairs? What sort of new tools do you need to develop at the SEC to get your arms around all this?
So, Paul, I think you raise a great question. Technology has come along in every generation, and I think my predecessors have addressed technological change in each generation. Arthur Levitt in the 1990s, who was the longest serving SEC chair, really had to deal with the dawn of the internet. And what did that mean? And trading platforms that didn't quite look like exchanges, but they're a little different. By the way, it was pre the SEC, but there were debates in the 1920s whether to even allow a telephone on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Real debates you can go back and look at. So I think what's happening now is, you're right, technology is rapidly advancing. The cost of communication has come down. In the crypto area, you can trade without a broker directly on a crypto platform. But even in our regular equity and bond markets, I've asked staff, how do we move forward as the United States? We have, I really do believe, the most efficient, the broadest capital markets, our debt and equity markets. But we can't take that for granted. It's a national heritage. And I asked staff, how can we update our equity market structure so that investors, regular working families, get a better deal, and we drive more efficiency? Investors do well, companies do well. Maybe the folks in the middle get a little less economic rent, but the others do really well. I think in the treasury markets, we've had some hiccups over the years in 2014 and 2019 and 2020. That's for another discussion. But the treasury market, $20 or so trillion market, it's really important to the U.S. that market is as efficient and resilient as possible. The municipal bond market, the corporate bond market. So we have projects in every one of these trying to drive to what I would say more efficiency, more transparency, and yes, competition, which will make it more resilient. But I couldn't agree with you more. Technology is a little faster, and the lowering cost of communications. And as you mentioned, the global reach of the markets. I mean, we even last week were talking about companies related to China issuing in the US, and that global reach is part of this technology story.
Yeah, well, we're on that topic. Let's go there a little bit further. Securities and Exchange Commission is a United States federal agency. How do you deal with the crypto markets are global, as you pointed out? Most of these markets now have some international components to them. How do you, as a United States agency, deal with a market that is international, both the traditional markets and especially the crypto markets where, look, a lot of this, like you said, a lot of this is just to evade regulation, to evade laws. How far is your reach?
Well, it's a great question, but we have this in the treasury market and the equity market as well. The treasury market is a global market. Our U.S. stocks are issued here, and we have to focus on the transparency and the protection against fraud, manipulation in our equity markets. Similarly, whether it's Bitcoin or other crypto assets, if U.S. investors are getting exposure or buying or selling these, then our remit is to ensure for investor protection. And if we do that well, I think that not only do investors benefit, but if this innovation has any chance of surviving into the late 2020s and 2030s. It can't stay astride the public policy. I mean, there's a lot of platforms that, again, probabilistically are trading or lending securities on those platforms. Come in, register, work with the SEC. If we need to, work with Congress to get the appropriate, authorities and add to our authorities. But I think this idea that this market can, just because it's global, we shouldn't get involved, or just because it's new-ish. I mean, it's been around for 12 years. We shouldn't get involved. We still have core public policy goals. And to this audience, I mean, the core public policy goals of national security. I mean, crypto assets are being used for ransomware, for dark web applications. And so how do we sort of, frankly, rein that in, this new form of potential private money? It does not have the three attributes of money, but, for the use of ransomware, then it becomes a medium of exchange.
Since we're back on national security, in 2019, when you were at MIT, you took part in an interesting dramatization that looked at a possible national security crisis, where this is all hypothetical, folks, I'm not putting anything real, where North Korea had been using China's digital renminbi to evade sanctions to finance its nuclear weapons program, and the United States just discovered this, and it was a big question about how do we...
I hope you realize, the audience, this was a hypothetical
right.
at Harvard Kennedy School put together at this, just simulation.
Right. Let me stress, like I said, it was a hypothetical. This has not happened. But they were trying to show what could happen. And so within that, what are the sort of, broad national security implications of, we talk about private money, but China's that's public money. So from the viewpoint of United States agencies, from the vantage point of here, you can't prevent it, but how do you sort of keep it from overwhelming what the United States has built?
So these are great questions, and in fact, I was invited to speak today. One of the 4 invites came from Nick Burns, and Nick, I think, was part of that simulation, if I remember. Look, I would say this: we have had public monies, again, since antiquity, but we did something 30 to 40 some years ago where we layered over our public money system various national security imperatives, sanctions in Europe, the UN, the US, and the like. We also layered over various law enforcement initiatives. We could because it went digital. I don't think we will or should back away from those public policy. Those are important to a couple hundred countries around the globe. It's not just the US. But now Satoshi's innovation, while a catalyst for change when we think about payment systems and when we think about good faith actors making payment systems more efficient, it's also sort of challenging, and it's being used.
Seems like we're the only 2 questions. So if you're in this stream right now, you'll see my question.
Guarding against illicit activity and tax compliance. And I think that's been a challenge in many nations. That simulation was about something different, though. That simulation was about something about nation states saying, in this digital age, how do we provide our currency, our sovereign fiat currency to the public? We used to do it with, coinage and paper. It's actually linen in the US, but paper money, and providing that to the public. Now that we live in a digital age, our digital money is commercial bank money. But nations around the globe are saying maybe to do something a little different. And I leave that to my colleagues at the Federal Reserve and Treasury and maybe in Congress to determine that. Our remit at the SEC is about investor protection in the markets. But you're right, there is these national debates going on about how that fiat money is potentially directly provided in a digital form to the public.
Oh, look, Kathleen is answering questions, but not mine.
You had mentioned the word trust, and I think it's very interesting that.
Well, if they're not going to respect my question, who is Gary Gensler? I'll send anonymously.
Been betrayed by the existing system. We want to go around, want to find a way around that.
Who is Gary Gensler?
You look at what
there you go.
Has emerged in the Bitcoin world, and like you said, a lot of it's like the Wild West. There are myriad betrayals of that trust. I get emails all the time from people who have been scammed, phished, who, how do you, it's interesting because now you're coming in as the SEC and you're saying, basically you're saying we're going to regulate trust. You're going to put in laws that will create, a framework in which people can trust each other. So sort of ironic.
Well, here's the thing, Paul. Look, I am who I am. I truly believe the innovations of the 1930s helped economic growth in America. What Franklin Delano Roosevelt and that Congress, a series of Congresses put in place around our securities laws, lifted economic growth because the American public could have a greater trust in the market, and companies, good faith companies trying to raise money, could raise that money. We'd have a basic bargain. Investors can take risks. And investors fine, but disclose the material information to them and protect them against fraud and manipulation. That's where we are. And that's where I am about Bitcoin in the crypto space. If somebody wants to invest, as they have in gold or silver, that might be a speculative play, but to layer over that investor protection. And I think that enhances economic activity, but also protects investors. We wouldn't have the use of automobiles today if we didn't have some basic bargain. If we had no traffic lights, no stop signs, no cop on the beat, do you think Detroit or later other cities, great cities in the South that have a lot of the automobile factories now in America, would they be producing as many cars if we didn't feel safe on the roads, or at least within some margin of error, safe on the roads? So similarly, I deeply believe in markets, but I think as new technologies come along, we adjust, and we still have core public policy goals: investor protection, financial stability, guard against illicit activity, and yes, national security.
We're going to turn it over to Q&A, so I think I have basically one more question. I want to ask you, in your May congressional testimony, you had pointed out that, and you said it today too, that you could use more staff. And you have pressed Congress.
It's a bit of an understatement. Let me say, there's 1,500 tokens that purport to be over $1 million of value. There's dozens of platforms that say, come here, we'll lend us your crypto. I mean, you could go on site right now and find some that are touting 4% returns, 7% returns, 9% returns. I am not touting any of them. For those listening and investing public, but who's looking after the investors as to those? Are they good faith actors that are really there, or are they Ponzi schemes, or are they somewhere in the middle? And so, yes, we could definitely use more staff in this area.
Yeah. My question is, how effective can the SEC be given staffing issues and given all your other responsibilities? In the crypto market's a 1.6 trillion market, capital markets are 100 trillion. I mean, how much attention can you really dedicate to the crypto markets?
No, look, you're raising the right questions. It's a question. The authorities are largely there. I think working with Congress, we can get some additional authorities, particularly with regard to these platforms. But it's also quite a resource-intensive area, and unfortunately, there entrepreneurs and technologists are standing up platforms, and maybe they're sitting in a jurisdiction in a small island nation. I mean, some of these are registered in the Seychelles. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to start any national security issue with the Seychelles, but they're registered in Malta or the Seychelles or the Cayman Islands, and so they're trying to sort of say, we don't take U.S. investors, we don't take U.S. persons, but then maybe, as alleged, it's coming through a VPN. And so these cases take some time to put together. So it's a resource issue. We have a lot of authorities, but yes, I think working with Congress, we could get some additional ones around these platforms.
Okay. We wanted to leave some time for Q&A. We know there's about a couple hundred people out there, and you all have questions, I'm sure. So I'm going to turn it over to Anja, and we can get some questions.
Thank you so much, Paul. That was fantastic. And thank you, Chair Gensler, for all of your comments. As you might imagine, our Q&A function is exploding here. And
all right, Anja, let's rock and roll.
It's exploding.
Exactly. What I will do is I'll combine various questions because they tend to be along a number of themes. And then I know we've got some distinguished members of the audience that will call up and ask as well.
Sure.
The first one is, I noticed you made a comment early in your speech that said the probability is that with 50 plus tokens that most of them are securities.
Aww.
The Q&A exploded into understandably, well, how do we know which one is a security, which one isn't? Why did Ethereum and Bitcoin get a free pass? And do you believe that's still appropriate, even though Ethereum, many people believe, was an ICO? Are you going to keep doing this regulation through litigation, which is what currently is going on, or are you going to set some clear criteria so people in the market will know if they're issuing a security or if something has become a real currency or a commodity because it has a real use case?
So it's a great set. I know you're combining different people's questions. Yeah. It's a great set of questions. Let me say, I think there's actually a fair amount of clarity. And why did I quote Jay Clayton to say it crosses chairs, it crosses party lines?
If you want to retweet my tweet where I try to get Gary Gensler to answer my question because there's not exploding, you can follow me on Andrew Mo Money on Twitter because we're going to give giveaways as well in 20,000 followers.
There's a lot of clarity, this Howie test and these other tests, Reeves test. There's something called Gary Indiana, Gary Plastic, not Gary Gensler. There's a number of tests that really is quite clear. What I'm trying to say about the platforms, and then I'll get to your point about regulation by litigation, I think was what Anja said.
Yeah. Actually, it's a question that I think came from John Burton and Julie Globus. Yeah.
Right there, John and Julie. But I think that the platforms, look, if you have 3 or 5 tokens, I'm not going to judge any one token. It's facts and circumstances. I'm not going to judge any one token on this open WebEx. It's possible. But when you get to 25, 50, 100 tokens, probabilities are it's pretty unlikely that all 50, all 100 don't pass the Howie test. And why is that? The Howie test at its core, 3-part test, but the Howie tested, did you give somebody money in anticipation of profits on their efforts? Now, usually there's a handful of people at the center of these XYZ project or ABC project. I'm not going to use names. There's usually a handful of entrepreneurs and technologists that, in effect, the investor is hoping those people do well. So that means anticipation of profits on the efforts of others. I think it's kind of just like reasonably clear. I would say very clear. Now, in terms of the enforcement, yes, we're going to use our enforcement authorities as my predecessors did 6 or 7 dozen times. And we'll continue to do that. What I'm also saying to those platforms, come in and discuss it with us, get registered, work with us and work with Congress if there's things that, might be appropriately shifted in our laws, additional authorities or adjustments. That's what new technologies come along. Internet came along in the 1990s, and the SEC did do some adjustments under a great leader, Arthur Levitt. And Congress also weighs in from time to time. It shouldn't just be static, but I'm saying I think a lot of this is clearer than some of the entrepreneurs would like to think.
Understood.
With all respect.
Yeah, so you're focusing on the part of the Howie test that says a small group of people put this together. So
it's basically an anticipation of profits on the efforts of the sponsor or others, so forth. And that is, it depends on the facts and circumstances, but that is the story of a lot of these circumstances.
So by that definition, would you draw a different line? Because Ethereum, of course, is backed by a small group of people.
So I'm not. Good try. Good try. You can try a third and fourth time, but I'm not going to go into any one token.
Absolutely.
Kabir Grewal would tell me I shouldn't. He's our wonderful new head of enforcement. So.
Makes a lot of sense. I'll just disappoint the 100+ people who've asked this question in different ways.
But I wouldn't want to disappoint Kabir.
Absolutely. Here's another one that came from Emilio Murgia and several others, and it was asked in several different ways. Bitcoin mining happens largely in China. A lot of that happens.
No, that's starting to shift. But yes.
True. But the question is, it's done with a lot of electricity through dirty coal. Ethereum, also proof of work. The SEC has made a lot of emphasis on, in my view, rightfully so, on climate change and disclosures. Are you going to require companies, for example, to disclose if they hold cryptocurrencies that have a big environmental impact?
It's a really good question, and you're right. Nakamoto's innovation. Back to by the way, I'm still waiting. Paul, you're going to tell me who's Satoshi Nakamoto. Who she is, right?
Paul knows.
I'll tell you after. All
right. But in all seriousness, if any of the 1,000 listeners actually know, we all would like to know who. This is a foundational story that we don't know who the foundation is, that person. But back to that. That Nakamoto innovation relies on computers solving a small computational puzzle. And that takes electricity, and the larger the network, the more electricity. And it takes a lot of electricity, as you say, in China and other countries, the proof of work. I think we are at a time in the 2020s that the SEC, right in our remit, is to update because investors want information about climate risk of their issuers. If I'm investing in a company, I want to know, and many investors want to know about the climate risk, the physical risk and the transition risk as countries and companies are committing to certain futures. Net zero is what people talk about, but other futures in greenhouse gas emissions. To your question, or to the questioner's questions, there is a really interesting intersection between climate risk disclosure, which hopefully the staff will propose to our commission. We haven't proposed it yet, so I don't want to get ahead of it, and we'll take public comment. But there is an interesting intersection. If we are successful and have climate risk disclosures for issuers, and if some issuer is buying cryptocurrencies or making a lot of in that space, what is their carbon footprint, so to speak? What is their greenhouse gas emissions? And I hate to get a little technical, it relates to a part of what we will be seeking public comment on, is not only the greenhouse gas emissions of the issuer, but what's called scope 3. What is the greenhouse gas emissions of their suppliers and their customers that they're affecting? And that's something we're going to, hopefully the staff will recommend to our commission, and we'll see what the public says. So a lot yet to be thought through, and we really do. We look forward to public comment on these intersections.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Let me now call on Bob Hormats, who is, I think, a veteran of 5 U.S. presidential administrations and senior levels at the State Department, U.S. Trade Representative's Office, and elsewhere. Bob?
So let me just say first, Bob, it's terrific to see you. Bob, you've served our nation so admirably over so many administrations, but we also worked together at a small Wall Street shop years ago.
We did. It's great to see you again, Gary. And my question, or really dual questions, really go back not just to the current job you've got, which you're doing so admirably well, but in the past where we've had the pleasure of collaborating. And that is one of the reasons, not the only one for sure, but one of the reasons other countries or other governments are exploring the notion of cryptocurrencies or various types of digitization of currency relates to the fact that we have been using our capital markets and in effect the dollar as a source of leverage. You touched on this Paul did as well. China's not the only one. Some other countries are as well. So the question I have is, how are you in your current job, and how should the U.S. government be approaching the balance between using these financial weapons to impose leverage on countries and incentivizing them to develop vehicles of the kind you're talking about, or others that are less regulated, which Americans could have access to one way or another?
How is this a question he can answer? What are other countries going to do? Anyway, I asked two more questions to make sure that they can actually see me. Is blockchain the solution for T+1, T+2 settlement argument? Will SEC implementation with Chair Gensler's tenure? And then will Chair Gensler prioritize which issues he will tackle first? 1, gamification of brokers, PFOF, settlement, and then fraudulent activity of large institutional investors. Let's see if he takes this.
How much collaboration have you had with other countries? And have you found other countries that are either further along or have different perspectives that you have found interesting and worth exploring in our context?
So I've only been in this job 3 months, but
oh my God, he said it.
So
Drink, everybody drink.
I'm going to do your second question first.
Everyone smash that like button and drink. Come on. He said he's only been here for 3 months. That's the drinking game.
Financial Stability Board, through the usual forums, what's called IOSCO, and some bilaterals on a bunch of issues. I mean, what financial stability, on money market funds, on climate risk, and yes, on something called the LIBOR transition. A lot of really good collaboration. In crypto, my observation that goes beyond my 3 months in the job, but also my study of it at MIT, a lot of collaboration around, again, these financial forums around cryptocurrencies in terms of illicit activity around stable coins, and look at some big projects like this Facebook project. I'd say that in the investor protection space, it's been a little bit more jurisdictional focused than international focused, and I think that's one of the challenges. I mean, I've had really good conversations with other regulators, but I think this jurisdictional approach some of the platforms are trying to play arbitrage between jurisdictions.
Right.
On your earlier question, and I can't help but thinking, how do you stay so young? Because the audience might not know that Bob actually, if I remember, was a young staffer in the State Department in the opening up of China. Am I not mistaken? That's
correct, Gary. That's correct.
That you were like a staffer with Henry Kissinger going to China.
I was his economic advisor and went with China, so anyone who has a China issue or complaint, call me up.
Oh my God, you were at the beginning of all that.
At that point, there was no trade and no investment at all. So it shows you went to the point of how the world's changed.
But that's why I'm raising that just for a moment to say a lot's changing. And so we layered as nation states over our digital money system. Remember, we went from paper to digital, and we layered over sanctions, anti-money laundering, tax compliance. So when Satoshi comes along in 2008, Halloween night, and writes this 8-page paper, nobody's noticing. I mean, there was the crisis. But it's not all that surprising. It started to be used as a private form of sort of arbitrage to avoid and skirt some of the public policy goals of sanctions, anti-money laundering, tax compliance. You're asking a different question about nation states and how they would feel, and I'm going to try to leave that to others in the administration. I do have some personal views, but it's not really in the remit of the SEC. But I share your view that there's competition amongst digital forms of money, Satoshi's private money and the public monies, but you're also highlighting there's potential competition amongst public forms of money. I think for the U.S., we've got an incredible capital market. We have really deep respect for the rule of law. We have open financial markets. And so I think one of the jobs I have as chair is to ensure that whatever years God and President Biden give me in this job, that I ensure that the capital markets are stronger when I leave it than when I got it. And that's why I'm thinking about projects in the equity markets, the treasury markets, the corporate and municipal markets, that we really ensure that they stay the shiny object, that, the most efficient markets in the world. So I hope that helps.
And that is a national security.
Oh, I think it's very much. I think the SEC is a domestic economic agency, but overseeing $100 trillion capital markets, it's the national security. I think it's one of our real secret sauces of the U.S.
I agree. Very much so. Thanks for the great job you're doing.
Thank you very much, Bob. And Gary, I'll just ask one final question.
Oh, boy.
There are many more in the Q&A. Neil Mulholland, Michael Davis, and several others asked this in various forms. And I think it goes to the timing of clarity
I blame this lady.
on crypto regulation. So you said that you may need...
I blame this lady. Here's my Twitter. I've had my hand raised as instructed for 50 minutes in this Zoom call with Aspen Security and Gary Gensler. I have 2 questions I'd love answered. It seems like only 7 questions have been asked. 4 of them are mine.
Went to, well, Japan and the UK and others have been clearer about it. When can we expect like a real pronouncement and regulatory clarity? I know you said...
So Neil and Michael, with all respect, we've been awfully clear on a bunch of this stuff. So I'm pushing back a little bit, with all respect, and is that I think that Jay Clayton was pretty clear 4 years ago, or no, 3.5 years ago. I think 75 cases in this area, and you can go to the SEC website and see them, have been clear. I think the Dow report in 2017, the Munchie order late in 2017, on and on. I do think there's work that we're doing in custody. I doubt that's why Neil and Michael raised it. I do think there's work we're doing in custody that we can bring. I think that we're seeing some progression in the fund space. As I mentioned, we have some mutual funds, and I anticipate we'll have some filings, being technical, under the 40 Act for ETFs and just investing in Bitcoin futures. But I think where we can use some additional work with Congress is on these platforms. We're going to do everything we can, and I do encourage those platforms to come in and talk to us, register. I mean, probabilities are you've got securities on your platforms. Maybe not, but and so I think we have these 6 or 7 different work streams, so it sort of depends. But I think we've got a lot of clarity. And it's not just these 75 cases we've brought. It's the law. It's the law if you follow what the law is.
Great. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. Clearly a huge amount of interest in this space, also from the national security community. And thank you for all the great and thoughtful work you're doing on this issue.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul, Nick, for inviting me, Bob, for the exchange, Anya, and all your questioners.
And all your questioners.
Very enthusiastic. Thanks very much.
Well, that was Gary Gensler. I mean, the Aspen Security will continue. For those of you who think that there are hundreds of questions, let me be very clear, okay? Thanks for joining. Questions can be asked by using the raised hand function located in the center of the meeting control bar. I've had my hand raised for about 50 minutes, at this point an hour. I asked the question at 9:42 a.m. Pacific time. How do I know that I am being ignored? Because other people have their questions answered, specifically the one from Roman Povroznik, who asked, can we ask Gensler questions? To which the answer is 3 minutes later from Kathleen Shea. Thank you for joining. Attendees may raise their hands to ask a question on screen. If there are hundreds of questions, I can only see Roman's and Kathleen's and Anonymous. But Anya was here to ask about the names because they cannot ask anonymous questions. So therefore, that's some pretty darn good proof that they had some questions they wanted to answer, and they were willing to say there were hundreds of questions that they don't want answered. Thanks for joining. Questions can be asked by using the raised hand function. Oh, well. Hey, thanks so much for joining. Hey, another thing that I want to say is that this channel has been on BitBoy. We're going to go on BitBoy again. We tweeted out when they were taken off of YouTube. If you don't want this channel to be taken off of YouTube, the most important thing is to leave some nice comments in the live chat. Remember to be on your best behavior when this live stream is over. Come back and leave a comment. Make sure that you guys understand that this is about financial education and freedom, trying to get you guys to the independence that I've been able to accomplish in my 26 years of life. And for my 27, I'm expecting to become a big number in my life, and I cannot wait to share with you guys. Mr. Meatball here is going to give you guys one goodbye and a sit down. Meatball, you're gonna sit, and he is going to give you guys a story. Come on. The story is, head on over to andrewmomoney.com to check out the Meatball merch store. Yeah, there's some really fun stuff over on the merch store. If you have trouble like purchasing from it, let me know. I'm not sure if there's some bugs going on in that merch store. Another thing is that the 20% off of Andrew Mo Money with Lux Algo is still a thing. We were able to re-argue for an extension of that 20% off, so that Lux Algo gives you buy and sell signals. If you guys want 2 free stocks, Webull is the way to go. If you want 4 free stocks, well, we're gonna have a Moo exclusive link coming out. Make sure that you have subscribed and hit that bell button to claim it. We're having giveaways for Twitter and Instagram, as well as the subscriber count. We're getting close to 120,000. Would love for you to join us and show up on the Moon Platoon end screens. Thank you for those of you who have pressed that join button and the patrons from Patreon. For now, but not for forever, thank you for trying to participate in the democratic system with this Zoom call, and we'll see you in the money. Peace. Peace. Goodbye, camera. Goodbye. I never knew you. I hardly knew ye. And catch you guys later. Have a good day.